Uh-oh.
Up in her last two fights. Good way hitting him from that way down.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It's been confirmed. Janibek Alimkhanalai will defend his middleweight title against his IBF mandatory challenger, Andrei Mikhailovich, on Friday, October 4th, in Sydney, and not in Florida. Not on the undercard of Zoo versus Murtazaliev, as we originally heard. We originally heard they were going to conjoin those two fights, make it part of Zoo's undercard. Apparently not.
The problem with that entire proposal is that it would have cut Top Rank completely out. In Australia, the fight likely would have been shown on Foxtel. I think it's Foxtel.
And in America, it would have been on Amazon Prime, which would have completely cut out Top Rank and their broadcast partner, ESPN. The way that this works out, the fight happening in Australia instead of America, it's still going to be shown on Foxtel in Australia, but it'll be shown on ESPN in America. And it's still a show where No Limit Promotions is at the helm of promotion. This is not a Top Rank show.
Of course it isn't. They're doing it in Australia.
Janibek Alimkhanalai sports professional record of 15 wins with no losses, no draws, 10 knockouts. To Andrei Mikhailovich, his mandatory challenger, who sports professional record of 21 wins with no losses, no draws, and 13 knockouts. Andrei actually has more professional bouts than Janibek does, but against largely pedestrian competition. Local guys, nobody world level.
Well, he's about as ready as he's gonna be.
He last saw action in April of this year opposite the ring Les Sherrington, who he stopped in one round. Before that, he fought in April of last year against Edison Saltarin, who he also stopped. That time in 5 rounds. There's a year in between those two fights, though. There's a year. So that's saying the night of, Andrei will have only fought for a single round. 1 round in the last 12 months. It's not much better for Janibek. It's not much better for the reigning defending champion who last saw action in October of last year, and he's now seeing action in October of this one. There's a year in between there.
So I happened to catch some film of Andre in action to see what he brings to the table, what kind of fighter he is. And I gotta be honest, I don't really like this kid's chances in Florida, in Sydney, wherever they're doing this thing. Defensively, he really leaves you wanting. And offensively, he's not so gifted that he can hope to compensate for the defensive flaws he has. He's hittable.
He's a mid-range to inside guy, compromises defense for offense. He wants to mix it up. He wants to throw punches. He's kind of awkward, kind of unorthodox, the way I see it. So long as Janibek gets his nutrition in order, so long as he doesn't have a hard cut, like he did the first time out when this fight was postponed because he collapsed. So long as his nutrition is in order, he should be able to keep his alphabet title. I say alphabet title and not titles because one of them won't be on the line.
The WBO title.
According to veteran boxing scribe Dake Jonovan, Andrei Mikhailovich is only eligible to win the IBF title. The WBO title is not at stake, as the sanctioning body rendered it a non-title fight. If Janibek wins, he retains both belts. If he loses, the WBO belt is vacant.
Why did they decide to render this a non-title fight?
I didn't see Jake Donovan or anybody else elaborate as to why that is. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why they would do that. But I also don't think Janibek is under much threat of losing the IBF or the WBO titles, because having seen Andre, I think that Janibek has enough. He can beat this kid.
The only way I see Janibek losing is if he has another hard cut and his punch resistance is compromised for it. Maybe Andre gets in with something hard, something like that.
Now, in the unlikely event that Andre wins the fight, becomes IBF champion, and the WBO title is subsequently vacated, ranked at number 1 is the United Kingdom's own Hamza Shiraz. I don't think that's a coincidence.
You know that Frank Warren has always had a way with the WBO, kind of like his old buddy Bob Arum has always had a way with the WBO. And I just find it very convenient that Hamza Shiraz is right there at number 1, and should the title go vacant, it would likely go to him.
He's going to be in action this weekend on the undercard of Joshua versus Dubois. He's going to be facing Tyler Denny. He's coming off a career-best win over then unbeaten Ammo Williams. If he beats Tyler Denny, he's in position to make some big things happen. And being honest with you, Hamza Shiraz has more potential to become a draw than the reigning champion, than Janibek Alimkhanalai, who for all their best efforts, Top Rank has not been able to turn him into the next Gennady Golovkin.
I know that's who they had in mind when they signed him. I know that that's what they aspired to do, but that's not what's going on.
With that in mind, you have to wonder if it wouldn't be better for the division if Andre pulled a big upset and he were crowned a big star in the land down under, in Australia, where the fight is taking place, in New Zealand, where he's actually from.
If he beat Janibek and won the IBF title, and the WBO went to Hamza Shiraz, you wonder if the division wouldn't be in better shape if those titles were held by other people, because this division is dying on the vine.
Arislandi Lara just defended his WBA title against an overmatched Danny Garcia. Carlos Adames, God only knows what he's up to, though I don't get the sense the PBC is invested in making a unification match between them, mostly because there's no money in it. Stylistically, it wouldn't be a good fight to watch either. Two thinkers, two thinking man's fighters, and those two guys don't seem too interested in challenging Janibek for what he's got, so maybe the belts need to be redistributed. To breathe new life into this division, to give it the shot in the arm it needs, maybe it would be better if Janibek lost. I'm not saying I think he's going to.
Having seen Andre Mikhailovich, I'm sorry, but nothing jumps out at the screen at you about this fighter.
He can talk some trash, he's got swagger, he's got charisma, this kid, he's got personality, but in terms of ability,
not so much.
I'm leaning towards Janibek to win the fight. I'm leaning towards Janibek to keep his belts. I don't think the division's necessarily better off for it, but I think that's how this might happen.
And we'll talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches.
In men's heavyweight news, Daniel Dubois is looking to legitimize his world champion status with his first successful defense of his newly obtained IBF title this weekend opposite the ring Anthony Joshua, who many favor to beat young Daniel and bring his reign as champion to an abrupt end. Daniel Dubois revealed he is relishing the prospect of legitimizing his status as IBF heavyweight champion. The 27-year-old makes the first defense of his title in the biggest fight of his career on Saturday evening at Wembley Stadium. He regardless recognizes that he has a title to defend because the IBF illogically stripped Alexander Usyk.
They didn't strip him.
Why are people still confused about this when Aegis Klimas said it himself? They didn't strip him, he didn't have to give it up, he gave it up willingly. Now why he would have done that, you can use your imagination. Maybe he was paid to give it up by Frank Warren so that his fighter could be elevated to full champion.
That's the idea I got in my head.
Though here's what we know. No order actually came down from the IBF ordering Usyk to face Daniel again. No such order came down, no deadline, no purse bid, no nothing.
Somebody should have told the author of this article.
Daniel Dubois recorded successive, impressive victories over the previously undefeated Jarrell Miller and Filip Prgovic before he was elevated to the status of champion. But he knows that the circumstances and recognition of the status of Usyk and Fury as the world's finest heavyweights means that he has a point to prove against his domestic rival, aged 34.
34 is not actually old for a heavyweight.
You guys are gonna see. This is my time, he told DAZN. I'm the man. I need to go out there and legitimize it. I'm the champ. I'm good, confident. I'm just relaxing and soaking it all up. Soaking up the energy. It's good. I'm going to feed off that energy and build up. I can't wait for it. It's my time. I'm ready.
I don't think that many people gave Daniel much chance of becoming a champion right after he lost to Joe Joyce and right after he lost to Usyk.
Credit to Daniel for being able to come back and rebuild himself. Those asking questions on behalf of the broadcaster were at pains to attempt to get Dubois to compliment the size of the occasion of Tuesday's grand arrivals in London Leicester Square, and therefore Saturday's contest, and the influence of those who represent the previously little-known Riyadh season. But he said, I'm experienced now, all of this, the media and everything. I don't let any of it faze me. This is the build-up to the storm on Saturday. What's the point of getting all worked up for nothing? I'm ready to fight. Wherever we have to do it, we're gonna do it. I'll do whatever it takes to win, even if it means rushing in, dogfight, headbutts, everything, anything to win, and retain my belt. You guys are gonna see. Don't worry about that. This is big. Big, man. It ain't the biggest, but this is big. I'm really soaking it all up right now. It's a great atmosphere. I'm going to feed off of the energy on Saturday. I'm the champion, so I need to operate like one. I'm the champ for now. I'm the champ. It'll feel even better on Saturday when I win. I'm just in the zone. It's what I've wanted since I was a little kid. Sat in there as a young boxer at the Repton Amateur Boxing Club and all the clubs we've been to until today. I'm so ready for it.
Dogfight, huh? Headbutts, everything. Low blows too?
I told you guys right after the Usyk fight. In my opinion, Daniel was instructed to hit Usyk low. He was instructed to do it by Don Charles. Don used to train Derek Chisora, a rough and rugged fighter, wouldn't you say?
He's got a very physical philosophy to fighting a fight.
Between James Ali Bashir being in Daniel's corner for that fight, James Ali Bashir actually spent some time with Usyk in the past. And Don Charles's philosophy, I was of the opinion that the shot was low, it was deliberately low, and it was all part of the plan to try to take Usyk's legs away, because as we all know, his movement is one of his finer qualities. It's what makes him so elusive, so tricky. So that when he's approaching this fight, he starts talking about more dirty boxing, a dogfight with headbutts, and whatever it takes. I'm not at all surprised to hear that.
Anthony better mind his family jewels.
Though I don't begrudge Daniel his enthusiasm, because this is what you want to hear from a young, hungry fighter. It shows that he is hungry, that he wants to be here, relishing the opportunity, as opposed to what we were hearing from another young fighter in Jared Anderson. The pressure, he's only 23, he's not in boxing for the long haul, he just wants to make his money and run.
This is the stuff he said before Martin beat him.
It's not the losing part, because losing in all likelihood is going to happen. There are very few fighters that are going to leave this sport with an unblemished record. So it's not the losing part so much as the rebuilding part. How can you rebuild yourself after a loss with a mind like that?
Daniel was able to do it. He lost 2 fights, but he was able to do it. Jared just suffered his first professional loss. Can he do it?
Will he make it to the kind of 7-figure payday that Daniel Dubois is about to have this weekend as a defending champion? Because if nothing else, if he loses, he still will have made a lot of money, more than Jared, by making it to this point.
Even if he loses.
That's why even the bit about dirty boxing is still encouraging in its own way. That Daniel is determined. He wants to be here, he wants to win, and he looks at this as an opportunity. He sees more beyond this fight. Whereas a lot of American fighters, when approached with a big fight, they act like that's going to be the final fight of their career, demanding retirement money, as if they're going to retire on this one.
They're not even thinking about getting to the other side of the fight because psychologically, they're already beaten.
Daniel isn't. Daniel isn't psychologically defeated going into what is the biggest fight of his career. He actually likes his chances. He's really backing himself.
And that is encouraging for him.
Daniel's got the right attitude, though it's not all sunshine and rainbows on his end. There appears to be a nasty rumor going around that Daniel and Don Charles have split ahead of this fight. I saw a Twitter user that goes by the name Sherry Abbasi say, with Don Charles missing from Fight Week events this week, speculation of a split between Dubois and his trainer Don Charles are beginning to gain momentum. Could this be mind games? Could Charles have some personal matters he is having to deal with? Or have they actually split? What do we think?
I saw this and I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't think nothing of it until I saw veteran boxing scribe Ade Oladipo tweet about it as well.
He said this Don Charles story cannot be true. Impossible. No way you can get rid of the head trainer, a man who has guided you to your 2 biggest wins 3 days before your biggest fight. It simply can't be true.
Ade Oladipo is clued in. He's in the know. He's in the loop. He's over there in the thick of it.
This rumor must be getting around that Frank Warren's rep thought enough of it to address it. A tweet from Michael Benson reads, told by a rep for Frank Warren's Queensbury that Don Charles remains Daniel Dubois' head trainer, despite rumors to the contrary, and he will indeed be in his corner as planned for the Anthony Joshua fight on Saturday night. Then where did these rumors come from? They came from Don Charles being absent for the grand arrivals. But why? Does he have pressing matters he needs to tend to? It would be disastrous.
I remember when Daniel parted ways with Shane McGuigan, the rumor was it had something to do with his dad giving Shane an ultimatum that he can't train both Carolyn and Daniel, he's gonna have to choose. And Shane chose to keep training Carolyn. That's how Daniel ended up with Don Charles. That's what the story was.
I don't know that I am ready to believe this rumor, because I happen to think that Daniel's dad, however involved he is, thinks enough of his son and this opportunity that he's not gonna meddle to the point to where Don Charles leaves.
Because I saw people bringing up his dad as the cause.
I'm not ready to believe that Daniel's dad would be that bullheaded ahead of his son's biggest opportunity for those trying to blame him. And I'm not ready to believe that Don Charles would abandon him, abandon ship.
Abandon Daniel?
I'm not ready to believe that. Though what's disturbing is that the tweet from Michael Benson saying that Don Charles is going to be in Daniel's corner, that's from 6:05 p.m. Whereas the tweet from Ade is from 2.5 hours later at 8 p.m. Close to 8 p.m. So, did Ade not see what Michael Benson tweeted? Did he not hear the word from the Queensbury rep? Or is it that, in spite of that, he heard something afterwards that suggests otherwise? That could be very bad. I mean, could you imagine if Daniel were to go in there without Don Charles in his corner after all this?
Wow.
I suppose it doesn't matter, at least not to me, because I don't think the fight hinges on Don Charles being or not being in Daniel's corner. I figure that Daniel, all caught up in the moment, all energized, he's gonna rush Anthony. He's gonna try to come at him hard and fast, and that's gonna get him knocked out.
He's gonna rush him, and because Daniel's never been one for slipping, rolling, or riding punches, because Daniel doesn't move his head, he'll be there for the jab, and he'll be there for the straight. I already thought that before all of this Don Charles stuff started.
To me, that's what decides the fight. But if this turns out to be true, and Don Charles isn't there, that only increases the likelihood that Anthony knocks this kid out.